up dive. Feel the vibe, get ready to ignite. Untold stories in the airways, flying through the night. Experience voices, tales so bold. Streaming live, the truth unfolds. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's a wild and variety. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can't hide. Aliens in the attic, UFOs in the sky. Cryptids lurking, oh my, oh my. Ghosts in the hallway, whispering your name. The paranormal, the unexplained. Become a VIP, get the inside scoop. Unlock the mysteries, be part of the group. Live streaming stories, they're talking to you. Super chats buzzing, join the crew. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's a wild and variety. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can hide. So if you've got the guts and you want to explore, tune into the Untold, it's what you're looking for. From aliens to ghosts and all that's unseen. Untold Radio Network, where the world's mysteries convene.
Good morning, monsters, and welcome to this week's episode of Monsters on the Edge here on the Untold Radio Network. I'm your host, Barnaby Jones. Today's episode is going to be pre-recorded, so we are not live in studio today with you, but it's going to be a great episode. Coming up, guys, I think it'd be this weekend, hopefully, is February 9th. It's always hard to tell with pre-recorded stuff. I think it's going to be this weekend in Oshkosh. The Caps team is going to be at the Beyond the Veil Expo in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. You can come on out and check us out there. And then, guys, coming up in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, April 11th through the 13th, we are going to be at the Midwest Meta Paracon. If you guys use the promo code CAPS, MMPC, you can get 10% off your tickets, either VIP or general admission. Any of the tickets for that weekend, get your discounted tickets for that. Then, guys, in May, we head to the Wisconsin Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Convention. It is going to be a great weekend, kicking off that Friday, the 9th, with a Bigfoot hike and VIP dinner. And Saturday is the convention. Sunday, we are doing some paranormal investigating around Appleton as well. If you guys want to get your tickets to that, head on over to wisconsincaps.com and click on CapCon on that page. If you guys can't make it out in person, you can also get yourself a virtual ticket for just $5. No matter where you are or when you are, you can watch and live stream all the speakers, either live during the event or after the event has ended, so you won't miss a thing. And then, guys, in June, we head to Chicago for the Chicago Paranormal Convention. It's going to be a great time there. And that's what we got coming up, along with some other library presentations and stuff that I have. So if you're interested in that, head on over to wisconsincaps.com and click on the public events tab. Otherwise, if you want to show your support for all things here on the Untold Radio Network, here's how.
Hey, Untold Radio Network fans. Want exclusive perks and to support our channel? Introducing our YouTube membership program with 3 amazing levels. Get loyalty badges that level up to different cryptids the longer you're a supporter. How cool is that? You'll also get access to custom Bigfoot emojis and priority in chat. Upgrade to Backstage Pass for exclusive wallpapers, photos, status updates, discounted books, and merchandise. Go all in with the producer level for everything mentioned plus member shoutouts. Ready for an enhanced experience? Join now, pick your membership level, and let's make this journey even more exciting together.
All right, guys, I want to remind you once again, we are pre-recorded today, so we are not live here. If you have any questions or comments, that's why we're not acknowledging that. My guest on today's show is Kenney W. Irish, a.k.a. the crypto punkologist. I was going to put zoologist there. He is an author, hardcore punk musician, and sales marketing professional. Originally from the northern parts of Vermont, he has recently relocated to the beautiful Adirondack area of upstate New York. He has a lifelong love of folklore, legends, monsters, and UFO stories. He has regularly attended and spoke at writers' groups, conferences, and festivals, and various other platforms across the country representing the New York Bigfoot Society. He has a passion for writing for young readers chapter books. The 2 most recent releases via Hanger One Publishing, right here with the Untold Radio Network, and with Beyond the Fray Publishing. And in 2021, released American Cryptids in Pursuit of the Elusive Creatures. This publication became a 6-time #1 bestseller on Amazon and has outperformed all other materials in its genre. In late 2022, International Cryptids and Legends, the follow-up of American Cryptids, was released from Beyond the Fray Publishing as well, and remained in the #1 bestseller spot for 2 weeks straight. And he is now a 2-time bestseller. The next publication released just this past fall and or winter, and it is American Monster Hunters. Kenney Irish has appeared on numerous radio shows and other podcasts such as Coast to Coast AM, resulting in 3 appearances, becoming a best of episode. Midnight FM, Untold Radio AM, that's us, and the Jim Harold Show, and the Leak Project Network, to name a few. He has been filmed in several documentaries scheduled to broadcast in the near future, and has recently filmed and appeared on national television show Haunted Hospitals for Travel Channel and Discovery Plus. And now, guys, please welcome to the show, Kenney Irish. Hey, man, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for reaching out to me and having me on and rescheduling with me. Because, like I said, it was even though it would have been pre-recorded, it would have been a very silent show last week with me losing my voice. So, very, very gracious of you.
No, not a problem, man. You see, I'm not losing my voice, but I'm losing my voice here.
Yeah.
It's already going for my show here, and I'm not even sick, so I don't know. But we will make it through, sir. We will make it through.
Right on.
So, how have you been? I have not gotten a chance to have you on this show. I know I've spoken to you past on my other show, my Monsters Monday Morning Monsters. You've been on, but not on this show.
Yeah, it's been a while. I really haven't done any podcasts or radio shows, I'd say probably in the last couple of years, and I've only done a couple of different events in the last couple of years as well. I ended up taking for my day job, I ended up taking another position with another company, and my background's in corporate safety and strategic leadership. And so when you're in leadership, you're on 24/7, but the position I took was not just your phone is on 24/7, like you're an active 24/7. So I just been so busy getting that location set up and successful and everything. And then back in November, I accepted a position very similar, but with a different type of schedule where it's more schedule based. So now I'm actually able to breathe and I'd be able to actually do the things that I enjoy doing without my phone ringing off the hook.
Oh man, that's you sound very busy. And then on top of all that, you have written another book, man. That is just amazing to be so busy and still get this out. So you have a brand new book here, American Monster Hunters. So where did first of all, where did you find time to write this?
Well, usually on average, I can usually put a book out, have the manuscript done and off to the publisher in like 8 months. This actually took me 2 years to do. The time is literally just kind of being disciplined and saying, okay, regardless, every day or every other day, I'm going to work on this for 20 minutes. Just to keep the ball rolling, because it's really easy to kind of let it fall on the back burner and kind of push it off. But I really wanted to get this publication out, but I also didn't want to rush it either, based off of the content that's in it and the whole circle, I guess, around the book. But something I want to point out real quick though too, if anybody has never heard or follows Mr. Sam Sheeran, he's the one that did the artwork for the cover. Mm-hmm. The guy is amazing. The guy is just unreal. He's done artwork, I believe, for like Kiss and all these other like large bands. The guy's just phenomenal. So if you get an opportunity, definitely look him up. I mean, his detail to interest, he does this all by hand. So it's just, the guy's phenomenal.
That is definitely a cool cover, man. Again, if you guys didn't know, a lot of people that listen to us on the podcast, there is a video format of this as well on YouTube. So if you head on over and check that out, you can see this. Or, even better yet, in the show notes, there's a link to this on Amazon, and you can go check it out and buy it and look at it in person in all of its glory.
Yeah. It just was fully released on the 13th of this month, January, and it's done well. I mean, it's been a top release in many different categories, so it's done really well, and I'm really pleased with it, and also happy to finally have it off my plate.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about it a little bit, because in the intro we talk about your other books, American Cryptids here as well, and then the International Cryptid Legends as well, both released. You kind of started out in the US talking about a lot of the American cryptids and stuff that were over there, and then moved on to the international stuff. But this book takes a totally different turn of that. What is this one all about?
Yeah, so this one is very much like the first two, meaning it's written kind of in the same context as if I'm actually taking you on a journey across the country. But what I'm doing in this situation is I'm taking you on a journey across the country to visit different states, to actually have conversations with what I consider American monster hunters, the individuals that have been doing it for years and years and have really brought a whole lot to the table. So it was more of I don't want to call it an interview, even though like there were questions asked, but it was more just kind of like a conversation with different individuals in the field of the unexplained, unknown, and cryptozoology. A lot of people that I really respect and look up to, and there's a lot of things that a lot of people, when they go on different podcasts and radio shows, that they kind of want to talk about, and sometimes they don't get the opportunity to. So my whole thing was I told each individual that, look, I'm going to ask questions and you just answer it however you want it. So this isn't my words in this book. This is their words and how they would phrase things. That's pretty much what it is. There's a bunch of different people that I had conversations with and asked some questions that people might already know some answers to, but then there was a lot of off the wall questions, fun questions like what are their favorite holidays and different things like that. Not just where they're from right now, but where were they born and raised, different things like that. So you really get a whole background, biography, history of these individuals right there in your hand, holding the book. And there's a lot of things that I found out about some of the people that I look up to that I had no clue. I had absolutely zero clue about. Really some really funny things and some real sad things too, that but triumphant at the same time. Like one of the individuals, I had no idea when he was a little boy, he got hit by a car and he was told he would never walk again. But here he is, he's walking. That's not something you're going to learn on in the normal sense, I guess, if you will. Another individual that they're on their third marriage. I mean, again, just stuff that, conversations that you wouldn't normally have, and that's all in this book with these different individuals. Again, there's stuff that people will already know because it's stuff that they've shared, but in a sense, I kind of like to go off the tracks and just kind of go in different directions. And I also reached out to some different individuals and I said, hey, what are some questions that you would ask that you would want to know? So I got a bunch of questions from a bunch of different people, and they were gracious enough to say, hey, yeah, I'd love to hear this. I'd love to hear that. But there's a lot of stuff that for these individuals that I followed for years that I had no idea, because it was not something that would ever come up. I'll say that there's one thing that really still kind of to this day blows my mind, and I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but I will say it was something that Ken Gerhard told me, and it's in the book, which I thought was pretty funny, pretty amazing. But some of these guys have done some amazing things, and you may not know it. Just being on a radio show talking about monsters, there's a lot of different things that I knew that were in the back pocket of these individuals, and it was just a matter of having that conversation with them, and it being again more kind of about them, and just some real cool stuff. Like there's another individual where he was talking about how Halloween was his favorite holiday because he would have his little tape recorder and he would record radio shows, where nowadays you could just go on the internet and there's a radio show about some haunting or something scary. Back then, you only got that around Halloween. So that was something that he had brought up that I had never even thought about. So again, there's just a lot of fun little things in each chapter about the individual. And if they used a certain phrasing, I made sure that phrasing went in there. If there was a certain word that they used quite a bit, I made sure that was in there. And the toughest part about this book was I recorded audio of me having the conversation with them and then put that into a Word document. Now, there's a difference between hearing something and then actually trying to read it and understand it. So I will say that what I made sure that I did after we went through, I made sure every single person that was in the book got the chapter and were able to go through it and say, okay, this is what I meant in this aspect. Plus, I also wanted them to look at the names of individuals that they had named, that they had brought up, and just confirm that the date was correct, and little things like that can fall through the cracks, because I really wanted this to be the best representation of them, because the book isn't about them, the book is them, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, it's super interesting. I mean, like like you're saying, there's so many things that have commonalities in people, or things that you didn't, expect. Like, when doing podcasts and like stuff like this, I get to talk to a lot of the same researchers that are in your book and stuff like that. And I've met them at conferences and stuff. And looking at all these, you start to learn things that like we all kind of have in common. And it's unique things. Like one of the things that I thought was very interesting is how many people I've talked to on my show, either paranormal or cryptid related, that have been either a pro wrestler or a pro wrestling promoter.
Sure.
And I just thought that was really weird. Is like, how many people go from like, I'm going to be a pro wrestler to I'm going to go look for Bigfoot. And there's so many people. Like, I did 10 years of pro wrestling myself, and I've met, I think, like 4 or 5 other people that have come out and said, yeah, I do pro wrestling, and I go look for Bigfoot. And I'm like, it's just not something that you'd think would go together, but apparently it does.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of the drive behind putting this publication together. Because in many cases, I've been on many different shows, and like I said, a lot of the time it's kind of structured, and the first question is usually, okay, well, how'd you get into it? This kind of the same questions, which is important, that those are asked. But I was also thinking, I'm like, there's certain things that maybe I'd like to maybe bring up about myself, which I'm not afraid to do that I've had some really stupid conversations on radio shows about myself. And when I say stupid, I mean based off of what I brought to it, not what the show was bringing. And those I had a lot of fun with, and there was a lot of stuff that I shared about myself that a lot of people probably didn't know, some didn't care to know, and others thought it was hilarious. So and that's just kind of my personality as well. I'm kind of like a one of those like people that, like, I've got a good attention span, but at the same time I can kind of bring myself down my own rabbit hole from time to time, if you will.
Mm-hmm. So I know with your other books, with the American one, you tried to go through all 50 states and talk about a creature from each one of those. Did you approach this the same way? Were you able to find and interview researchers from all 50 states?
Yeah, well, I didn't do all 50 states. So what I did was I picked, I believe it's 14 different individuals, and excuse me, and reached out to them, and set up a time to have a conversation with them. And so that's kind of how I approached this one. So there's times where, and it bounces back and forth. Like, for instance, there's a couple people that I talked to that are out of Texas, but they're not back to back in the book. And they're in there, but there's really no rhyme or reason on who's first, who's third, it's just kind of how I went in order. So whoever the last person is in the book, that's the last person who I was able to connect with, and the first one was the first person. So again, no rhyme or reason. Nobody's number one. Nobody's last place. It was just that's how I put the book together. And I talked with some people, and they're like, well, if you got a couple people from the same state, maybe put it in the same. And then I just kind of decided against it because one, I wasn't traveling to the States anyway, so it's not like it was one of those things where it's like I spent this time in these states. So I was like, you know what, I think it'll break it up a little bit. And again, each individual brought so much to the table in conversation that it was for me was really, really intriguing. And this is the only book that I've written that once I got my copy of it, I actually read it. Because I don't know if there's many people out there that actually read their own books. I don't read mine. By the time I hand it off to the publisher, I'm so sick of it. I want nothing to do with it. But this was real different. Because like I said, this is them. This isn't just me saying, hey, I talked to them and they said this, they said that. So and that was a little tough as well, like I'd mentioned earlier, putting down on paper, because you really want to keep the sanctity and the real the realness, if you will. I know that's not really even a real word, but real
authenticity,
real aspect exactly of what the individuals were saying and who they were. So I'm hoping that people can still be able to read it and understand that the words that they're reading were the words that came out of their mouth, that it's not what I put down on the paper as an initial lineup for the book, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've noticed, like, with some of the stuff I do with, like, putting in like closed captioning and stuff on some of the films and documentaries and that you lose some of the context because words are omitted with the way that we talk.
Yeah.
And when you look back at it in written word, it's like, what the heck are you talking about? Because you don't have the context of facial or, like the physical words or stuff that are being said at the same time as the verbal stuff sometimes. So it's hard to take a conversation and put it into that context. So.
Yeah. And like I said, I made sure that I sent, and for some of them, I sent it out multiple times to have them have the individual look it over, because there were certain things that when you hear it and their tone behind it, it kind of meant one thing, but then when you read it after, like there was one of the individuals, something that they had said was very sincere, but when you read it, it sounded cocky. And that wasn't the message at all. So, so again, this is why it was important. And I've done interviews before where I've read it, whether it's in a magazine or a blog or whatever. I read it back after. I'm like, huh, wow, that didn't really translate how I wanted it to come across. So again, I really wanted this to be the best example of them and really who they were. So that way, if they get the opportunity to pick up the book, I mean, they know what's already in it, and it's nothing's a surprise. And again, a lot of it, after I went through and got it out on paper, I did what I would call my editing. I am not an editor whatsoever, but I went through and cleaned it up just enough, and I sent it out to them, and they were like, wow, they're like, this is bad, man. This really needs a lot of editing. And I'm like, I don't want you to edit it. It's going to go through professional editing. It is going to go through. I just want you to confirm names and facts and how it's read. And a lot of them went through and did that, and still kind of went through, cleaned up some sentences from how they wanted it to read compared to how they would normally say it. So again, that also was part of the reason it took a long time, was because I really wanted a good representation of each individual. I mean, if I'm going to put you in a book with my name on it, that means I really respect you. And I don't want to just put something out there and say, hey, people run out and buy it. I want them to know that it's, when it's out on the shelves and people are buying it, that it's the best representation possible.
Very cool. Now, I'm going to ask you a question here that I ask a lot of people about Bigfoot, but we're going to turn it around and ask it about the people that you interviewed. That sounds funny. But so when you've talked to all these people, have you noticed any kind of similarities or, like origin stories? Like a lot of people that I talk to in that always say, oh, I started watching In Search Of, or I started with the Patterson-Gimlin film. But as you said, you took it a step further beyond, like, how did you get interested? So is there anything else that, like, you noticed stood out with more than one of these people? Any kind of origin story kind of things that have led people down these paths, or certain ways that they do things?
Yeah. There were some that they were kind of born, I guess, kind of believing it, and had experiences at young ages, which kind of hooked them. And there were others that they saw a video. But what I will say is the common thread between all of them would be the fact that every single one of them, I believe, if I remember right, liked monsters, or liked some type of, they liked the woods, or they liked monsters, or they liked both, from a young age. And that seemed to be a big connection, and what a lot of individuals were speaking on. So I'd say that was kind of parallel. Not all of them, some of them kind of came into it for different reasons. But I think every single one of them had some sort of aspect of enjoying, as young boys do, monsters and creepy type of settings, and running around in the woods, catching snakes and different critters that crawl around and slither. So there was a lot of different things that when you read it, if you get to the end of the book, you'll realize a lot of them kind of are very, very similar. I don't recall, I could be wrong, but I don't recall anybody saying that they saw a video and that was what hooked them. I think that they were already hooked to a degree in a certain realm of the subject, and that just kind of helped kind of intensify their love for the subject.
Very cool. Did you get a chance to interview any kind of like second or third generation researchers, either in zoology or cryptozoology or even paranormal?
It's a good question. I don't really think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think there were any second or third generation that I can think of. If there was, it didn't come up on the conversation, but that would have been a phenomenal question to ask. But I not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. I know some people, their families, like one of the individuals. I think he was born in South Africa. I think. Don't quote me. I've been sick, so. But I know he wasn't born in the States, and he moved out here. And he kind of has a real kind of cool upbringing area from where he's originally from. But no, not that I can think of. Not that I can think of. But again, it could be just because it was a question that I never asked.
Interesting. I just want to remind everyone that today's show is pre-recorded. So if you guys have any questions or comments in the comments section and we're ignoring them, we're just pre-recorded today. So just throwing that out there before we continue here. So yeah, that's interesting. And I bring that up because, like, obviously I have a show. I've interviewed a lot of people. This is like our 92nd episode here. And I haven't come across that either. Like, there's been nobody that's like, oh, my dad was, a zoologist, so that was why I got interested in it and stuff. And I've gotten a lot of people that did paranormal and had an experience and then transitioned over to cryptozoology or vice versa. And I've talked to people that obviously the Patterson-Gimlin film In Search of, as I said, or that have had an experience, that have seen something or, had a creature cross the road and got them interested that way. But I don't think I've ever spoken to anyone that's, a second or third generation or, cryptid hunter runs in the family. So.
Yeah. It's, I mean, the only, they're not in the book, but I mean, the only person off the top of my head that comes to mind would be, and I could be wrong. I don't know for a fact that his dad was necessarily into the subject. I think he was, but Stacy Brown Jr., Stacy Brown, his dad, I know, ended up getting that thermal footage, and I was pretty blown away by that. So I believe his dad had an interest in it. But again, I could be wrong. I haven't talked to Stacy in a couple of years. And I hope he's doing well.
He was just on my show a couple months ago, I think so.
Okay,
he's got a new documentary out, so yeah, always working on this.
Cool.
And now that you mentioned that, it reminds me of Michael Friedman.
Oh yes,
and him and his dad as well. So I guess I'm mistaken on that, but so I guess there's a few. There we go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of people who's in. I noticed this a lot and anybody that reads American Monster Hunters will notice this. There's a lot of people whose fathers were hunters and people that love the woods, and so their love for the woods and being out in the forest came from their upbringing. So
very cool. Now I know that we were talking. You're a very busy man with your schedule and stuff like that, but with the way that your books have flowed, the next logical step now is international monster hunters.
Yeah.
So planting the seed here, have you already started thinking about this, or are you taking a break for a while, or
as of right now, as far as this subject, the American Monster Hunters is probably the last book that I'm going to write based in this type of subject. Ironically, I'm working on another young reader's chapter book, which this was a story. This happened a little over a year ago here in New York. There's a cat, and I've talked to many people about this. They're very familiar with the story because it actually made international news. There's a restaurant owner in Saratoga Springs, New York, and there's a cat that lived on the street, and his name was Kane, and everybody called him Mayor Kane because everybody knew him, and he just was friendly with everybody. He would always go into the restaurant. They would let him in. They would feed him. People would come and take pictures with him, and the restaurant owner just one day just said, you know what, I don't want the cat in here anymore. Went and told the owner, and she's like, okay, well, that's fine. I understand, hey, it's your restaurant, no big deal. But she said, please don't open the door and let him in, because obviously he doesn't have thumbs. He can't open the door. Well, he ended up getting in because the workers fed him and let him in. And so he apparently got upset, and it was January 6th, I believe, of 2024. He grabbed Kane and in the middle of the night dropped him off at an animal shelter that was closed and took off. And it turned into a big thing where they were boycotting this guy's restaurants. I mean, on the news, he had to go to court. And it was a really, really, really big deal. And, everybody was looking for him, and nobody could find him. They had no idea what happened to him. And so it was really sad, because, I mean, it's just, you just don't do that to a cat, especially somebody else's, and drop them off at a shelter that's closed. So there were cameras there, and they caught him dropping Kane off, and I guess got his plate. I'm not 100% sure how they caught on to it, but so again, this was huge. This made international news, and I was a supporter because I'm an animal lover, and so I was following it. And the owner, I believe it was in April, ended up getting a call from somebody saying, hey, we think your cat might be here. So she's like, okay, I'll come down and check it out. She didn't think it was going to be him, but she got there and it turned out he was him. It was him. And he had a scar on his nose, obviously, probably from getting into fights and different things like that. But he survived. And the individuals that kind of really blew up the story reached out to me and asked me if I'd write Kane's story. And I was like, absolutely. I would love to do that. So I'm actually in the middle of working on that. I've got the whole layout of it done. Now, we don't know what he did from the time he was dropped off in January to the time that he was found in April. We don't know what he went through. So that's obviously going to be fictional, but it's going to be written with Kane actually being the voice of the book, meaning it's going to open up and it's going to be like, hey, I'm Kane, not like the candy cane or something like that, but Kane type of thing where he's going to have his own personality. And that's how we're going to write the book. It's going to be about forgiveness, not giving up hope. And so that's kind of what I'm working on right now. And I'm really excited about it. Excuse me. Young Readers Chapter Books is really my passion. I'm not really known for the Young Readers Chapter Books. It's more of the adult books, but it's kind of where my passion lies. So I'm working on that right now, and we're pretty excited about it. We're gonna publish it through a local publisher, and to get different type of funding for it. We're gonna do like a campaign for it, and because I mean he's got more followers. This cat's got more followers than you, me, and everybody else put together. So anybody that helps and donates to the campaign to release the book, they get it out, they're going to have their name in the book as a personal thank you. And again, these are individuals that have been following him. He's got his own fan page now, and just a sweet cat. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. And well, I'm hoping at some point in time this year that book will be released.
Awesome. Now, again, we're not live, but I know if we are, or just in general, people are commenting and asking, have you met Kane?
I haven't met him yet. I've been on Zoom meetings and different things like that. I've talked with Kane's owner, very, very sweet lady. So now I've got everything laid out. What I do plan on doing is going over and visiting Kane and just kind of, being around him, just kind of be able to pick up a little more of his personality, so I can kind of include that and intermingle that into the book. But it'll be, like I said, set up more of like a young reader's chapter book. So young individuals, it can be read in schools and different things like that. And again, the message is going to be about, not giving up hope, taking care of animals, forgiveness, different things like that. So I'm really, really excited about it. And it's going to be, it's a project I'm really, really excited about, and honored that they had reached out to me and asked me about it. So, and again, we're going to use a local publisher in the area, which I think is really going to be beneficial to Saratoga Springs, because we want to keep it, even though we plan on the book going national and international, we want it to start where the actual story started.
That's cool. That's really cool. I like that story. So best of luck to that. And like I said, if you get your fundraiser and stuff going for it, and that shoot me a message, and I'll share it out for you as well, so that we get that out.
Awesome.
All the people that are listening and watching.
Kane would appreciate that,
I'm sure. Very cool. Well, what else have you been working on? Are you still part of the New York Bigfoot Society there?
Yeah, definitely. We haven't really done a whole lot with it since my schedule's been crazy. Plus the founder, Gary, he is working full-time, over full-time, and he's been pretty much going to school almost full-time at the same time. And he's a single dad of 2 little girls, I think. So we've been just really, really slammed. So we haven't really done a whole lot with the organization. Unfortunately, the original Facebook page, I'm not sure what happened to it, but we had to open up another one. And then now it seems to be there's some issues with that one. I'm not sure what the deal is, but so yeah, I'd say in the last couple of years, we haven't really been able to be as active in it as we were originally, being able to go out into the field and doing podcasts, because we would do a weekly podcast for a while and had a lot of fun with that. But like I said, it just kind of got to a point where we were so busy that it was just something else that was on the plate that we weren't able to put the time into. Mm-hmm. So I know for me, I kind of felt like I was just kind of there, just doing it, when in reality, that's not really, because you're just so burnt out by the time you get to it that you weren't really enjoying it. So I think, in the next year or two, as things kind of calm down, and I think Gary's getting close to possibly graduating in the next year or so. He's been working so hard. It's just, I can't even imagine being a single dad, having 2 daughters, working. When I say full time, like 40 hours is considered full time, but nowadays full time is 60 hours. And then you add on top of going to school, and and he's a certified nerd, so he's getting straight A's because he's putting the time into it. And so it's been so we've again just kind of put it on the back burner to a degree, and but still kind of mingling in it. And I would definitely say I am probably 100% armchair researcher these days, 100% without a doubt. But it just it is what it is. Sometimes life happens. But again, like I'd mentioned earlier, that I had switched careers back in November. Still still a big job, but my phone's not ringing all the time, which is great. All I can say is, if anybody who is getting into the HVAC type of career, plumbing, any of that. That's my backgrounds and all that. You just, I'm sorry. Sorry. Especially with this summer that we just recently had, which was so hot. So everybody's ACs were breaking down. And then right now, I mean, it just kicked in. Winter probably kicked in the middle of December. Winter weather, I should say, in the East Coast, and it's been pretty brutal. So I am glad I'm out of that industry now. That's all I can say.
How's it doing up there in New York now? I know in the past there was those big storms with like 5 feet, 6 feet of snow at a time. How's your winter over there now?
We just got what was it, Sunday night? I think it was. It was Sunday night. We got some snow. It was only like, I think maybe the most was maybe like 6 inches, but it's been cold. It's been like brutally cold. Like that cold where it's just like when you stand outside, it just, everything around you feels dead because it's so cold, type of situation. So it's been rough, but not for me because I switched I switched out. So it's been good. I just have to go out and make sure my truck's warmed up. Other than that, I don't have to worry about 8, 9 o'clock, my phone going off 3 hours away, something not working, and got to go out and fix it. So.
Nice. It is January 21st right now. We're recording this. As I said, we're pre-recorded, and today was the coldest day here in Wisconsin for around me, at least. And it was negative 13 when I was coming home today. And it's like, no snow though. We got no snow here. It's pretty much just brown grass. But
well, I saw earlier today that it was snowing lightly, I guess, in New Orleans.
Jesus.
So, I guess there's this Arctic blast like going across the country. So, it's just, excuse me, anybody that's never driven in the snow or do not have the proper rubber on their tires to do so, be very careful. Be very careful.
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to go back to your book here for a minute. You talked about how you gave everyone like an opportunity to talk about something that they wanted to, or, and I try and do that with my show here. So I think that, we're coming up on, towards the end of the show, and I want to give you the opportunity to, you've done so many interviews and podcasts and stuff about the book that's coming out and that. What's something that you don't get to talk about? What do you want to talk about? Well,
I guess a lot of people don't realize that I'm actually a Christian, and I go to church every Sunday. I actually, when I lived in Vermont, I was actually, for a while, I was the lead musician for the church that I attended, and the church that I attend right now is I was a musician for them. I played bass and guitar for them, and I also was their audio video mixer live engineer guy, which again, a lot of people wouldn't know that. I recently, actually, this is something which is a little different. For years and years, I've been approached about narrating certain things for people because they're like, you've got this voice that is kind of memorable, and some people even said distinguished, which I thought was kind of funny, but anyway, so I actually, in the last year, I've actually got into voiceover work and some voice acting, and I've had some clients. So I've already been hired, and I've already done some different things. I don't necessarily know when anything's going to air, but I went through and I did a little bit of training, but I started doing voiceover for different things. So there'll be eventually in the not so far out future, you may be sitting there and hear like a movie trailer and, God, where's that? Why do I know that guy? Where do I know that voice from? So, so there's a phenomenal studio that's not far from my house that I go into, and the clients, they hire me. We agree on a price for whatever it is, and then I go in the studio, I record it, and then we send it off to them, and it's played wherever it's played. So so that's something that not really going to come up on a radio show unless I bring it up. So so yeah, Those are a couple things right there.
Now, you can't lie to me. You're going to be the new lead in the new Disney movie, right? The new animated one. Yeah, we can't talk about which one that is yet, but
I mean, I excuse me, I'd love to do that, but I don't foresee that in my future right away. I might do some narrative readings and different like audio books type of situations, but you know, we'll see what comes down the line.
that's where I want to see you. I want to see you the lead of a Disney movie. That's what I want.
I'll tell you what, if something like that ever happens or something similar, I before anybody knows, actually, you'll be the first person I reach out to, just because you said that.
I appreciate that. That'd be really cool. They're making some weird and interesting movies. You know, it's not going to be long till they put out like a cryptozoologist lead in a show, and you know, there you go.
Yeah.
Now we've planted that seed now, so there you go.
Yeah. That's
awesome.
Some seeds are not meant to be planted, but hey, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you never know. Well, if you don't want to be in Disney, we can be in Warner Brothers, or there's plenty of other cartoons out there. You know, you can voice something.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I am with character voices, but I can definitely sound excited, and I can tell you what, I could do the safety forklift certification video like there's nobody's business. So
I'm sure you can be a lot more entertaining than the ones that are out now. So there you go. It doesn't take much.
Well, it's funny because when I was working on a demo, because I've actually got a website for the voice work, and there's a demo on there. I think it's about a minute and 15 seconds, and I had to pick certain things to read and to put together for the demo. And I think I'd mentioned at the beginning of the show that my background, one of my main backgrounds is in safety. And so I was going through and I came across a forklift certification read, and I'm like, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this one. And I did it. And it was, I was pretty excited about how it sounded, because I hear so many of them where the individual is just like, it's draining listening to them. They're like, in the forklift, a forklift driver, you know? So I was just like, oh my God. So yeah, I ended up doing a forklift certification promo, which was a lot of fun.
Cool. Well, I'll definitely listen for you on those as well from now on, because I do have to take one of those myself every year, and I know I usually sleep through them. So yeah. At least if it's your voice, I'll be like, where do I know this? And I'll just focus on that for the whole thing, and ignore the safety procedures anyway. So
well, you'll know the difference. I mean, if you're listening to it and it's like, congratulations, you've successfully completed your forklift certification. That's not me. But if you hear, congratulations, you've successfully completed your forklift certification, that's me.
There you go. All right. Very cool. Well, before we head out here, I wanted to give you an opportunity. I know the last time you were on my show, my other show, not this one, we talked about your American cryptids. And I haven't gotten a chance to have you on to talk about the international book as well. So as we wrap things up here, kind of give everyone a little bit of idea of this. We've all heard of like the Yeti and some of the more, common stuff, but what are some other cryptids that you talk about in this book?
Sure. This publication is definitely kind of creepy. As I really started doing a lot of research out of the States, I came across a lot of legends and a lot of really weird, just scary spirits. Once you leave the U.S., everything has some sort of spiritual type of evil behind it, which I don't like. I'm not a fan of that, because I'm really I'm not a ghost spirit guy. I'm a monster guy. I love legend and lore. Other than that, I really don't want to come face to face with anything. I really don't want to see anything. As much as I want to, I don't. So this book is very much, again, set up just like American Cryptids, where I'm taking you on a journey, but I'm taking you on a journey across different countries, talking about a few different legends from there. Like in one of the chapters, I covered Baba Yaga. I covered Krampus, some of the more popular heard of legends, but then there are other ones like the sky serpents that a lot of people aren't familiar with, and just a lot of really creepy legends of different types of beings that are said to roam in these countries. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again: when you get out of the States, or let me put it like this, when you go internationally and then read up on these legends, and then you come back to the States, a lot of the legends in the States seem very cartoonish and laughable compared to these ones out in these different countries, like Haiti, the Haitian werewolves. I mean, there's just so many different things that they feel like they're the real deal, where when you talk about like the American Bigfoot, you're just kind of like, oh, okay. It doesn't really have that spin to it anymore, where like if you think about like the Wendigo, like how creepy and how horrifying that legend is, that's pretty much every legend outside of the States and these other countries. So it was a fun book to write. It was very different. It was originally called International Cryptids, but then because there's so many different legends that had nothing to do with cryptids, but were just creepy, and I wanted them in the book, that's how the title went from International Cryptids to International Cryptids and Legends. So again, it's a fun book. I write it as if I'm taking you on a journey. I'm your tour guide, and a lot of fun stories and a lot of fun legends in that book. A lot more fun than I would say than in the US.
I think you have a very good point there, as far as like the cartoony versus the lore part of it. Like in the US, people see something and they're like, oh, this is what I saw, end of story. But when you go into the international stuff, you have the legends and folklore of the story behind all these beings. And there's a lot more of the indigenous legending and stuff to that around the world, where these people have ingrained these creatures in their culture, and they tell the stories orally and, passed down for generation to generation. Where in the US, it's like, oh, the lady down the road saw this thing.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's when you really kind of sit back and take a look at it, like in the US, okay, Janice down the road saw something and she chased after it and tried to get a picture of it. I'd say 99.9% of the individuals in these other countries, they're not chasing after anything. They're trying to avoid it. So it was a very, very different type of focus, I guess, if you will, very different direction.
Mm-hmm. I've read a lot of the other books, like the older books and stuff like that. Again, the international stories and some of the original researchers, like John Keel and John Green and stuff like that have gone around the world and researched these things. And there's a completely different feel to things outside the US, where when you talk about the Yeti, like here we talk about in the US, like, oh yeah, it's the thing from Rudolph the reindeer. And, it's this, this abominable snowman, ha ha ha.
Beef jerky.
Yeah. And when they write about it, they're like, this thing exists. We found prints, all the locals say it's real. It's 100% real. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like they're talking about, like going to the zoo and seeing a lion, or, going out in Africa and seeing an elephant. It's real. It's there.
Yeah.
Whereas when we write about stuff in the US, it's like, oh, maybe, we don't know. But when you talk like the older researchers and stuff that have gone over there and talk to the people, boots on the ground, there's 100% factual stuff that they say all these things are real, and they're afraid of it. Like you said, it's not chasing it down the road with a camera.
A lot of research that I did, a lot of the stories were people telling you, no, avoid this. Not go out and try to find it. Like it's just, they fear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the only place that you find that here in the US is like down in Kentucky.
Yeah.
They're the ones that tell you, don't go looking for that. You don't want to go out there looking for that. We've seen it. We don't want to see it. Yeah. But, oh man. Well, it's been a blast having you on again. I really appreciate your time. Like you said, you're so busy and all the things that you got going on and your new book coming out and that. In your spare time, if you have any, do you have any events or you got any conferences or anything people can meet you in person, get an autograph or something like that?
Yeah, I've gotten a bunch of offers so far for 2025. Only one so far have I 100% agreed to, is Eric H. Altman's event. He does a Pennsylvania Bigfoot camp out event every year. I've never been to it. I've always wanted to go to it, and I was at an event with him back in, I believe it was the beginning of October, in PA, called the Elbowitch Festival, and that's when Eric asked me if I'd speak at his event in 2025, and I've always wanted to go to it, and I was either already at an event or the last 2 years had been crazy, but I agreed to it and committed to it. So as of right now, that's the only one for 2025 that I've committed to, because I wanted to make sure everything with my new job is just kind of kosher, and that's in August. So I got plenty of time to get things laid out and make sure that that's all good. So as of right now, that's the only one. I am open to other dates if anybody's currently looking. There were a couple that I had to turn down just because of location. One in the UK, and unfortunately this year I'm not able to get out to the UK. So I keep Facebook up to date, and any of my social media, I keep it up to date with any events that I'm going to be at. So I'm looking forward to hopefully getting back out there and doing more and more, like I used to, hopefully at least maybe one a month somewhere. So we'll just see how 2025 goes.
Sounds great, man. All right. Well, as we said, your new book is available now on Amazon and probably anywhere that you can find books. Kenney W. Irish, American Monster Hunters. The link is in the show notes for anybody that's interested. And also check out the other books, American Cryptids, In Pursuit of the Elusive Creatures, and International Cryptids and Legends, as well as you have some other fiction books as well out. So all that is available on Amazon, and your website is in the show notes for anybody interested in that. Anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap things up?
No, I'm good. I just want to thank you again for your patience with me and being able to reschedule, and doing pre-recorded is always very, very helpful. So it's, I appreciate your support, your friendship, and I look forward to the next time we talk.
Absolutely, man. Same to you, man. It's been good seeing you, and I hope to get another event with you again as well. So
sounds good.
All right, man. You take care.
All right, you too. Thanks.
All right, guys, that is our show for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Before we go, we have some exciting news here at Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. Coming up this May, we are releasing our brand new documentary on Bigfoot in Wisconsin. It is going to premiere at the Cryptids, Anomalies, and Paranormal Convention Saturday, May 10th in Appleton, Wisconsin. You can get tickets at wisconsincaps.com. Click on the CapCon link. And this is going to be a really cool documentary, full length. You're only going to be able to see it on paid platforms like on our Patreon and some other things. So it won't be on our YouTube. But if you guys get a ticket for the convention on May 10th, it is going to be premiering that night at the convention. So tonight, guys, today, I want to leave you with the very first premiere of the trailer. Check it out.
Right here in the road, and it was right on the line, standing right there.
Whatever it was breaking trees, breaking branches, and I've never heard that before.
And from the basement door, I was like, Louie, I'm pretty sure there's a footprint out here.
And that's when the rocks started coming out of this tree line.
All I seen was hair. And it was like arched over right here.
And then out of nowhere we hear this loud, like earth-shaking grunt.
It rolled its shoulder and grabbed the ground and pulled itself towards my vehicle.
And I heard a plunk. And I come over here, and that squash was laying about right there in the middle of my garden, you know.
How do you walk in that in bare feet at 30-degree temperature?
Did you see that? What was that? I saw something dark in the light from the right to the left. It was big. Could be this a big thing?
All right, guys, I'm super excited for this. We've been working really hard on it. It's going to be a lot higher quality than a lot of our other documentaries and stuff that we usually have out on YouTube, full length. It's looking to be between an hour and 2 hours finally when it's all said and done. So it's going to be released at our convention and then globally after that. So check that out, guys. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share the Untold Radio Network and Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. Until next time, guys, I'll see you on the